the only permanent, real fix to the broken immigration system, and it is absolutely broken from A to Z, from, it's absolutely broken for our economy, for our national security interests, for the rule of law. By the way, for the folks who have done things legally. It is totally unfair. So we have a system that's absolutely broken. The only way to get it done is through a legislative fix. Now, as to, again, the president's executive order, did the president acting alone, did that make it more likely or less likely for Congress to be able to come up with a fix? There's never any guarantees that Congress is going to be able to do it, because we haven't been able to do it. We haven't been able to do it. But did it make it easier or more difficult? It clearly made it more difficult. And I would tell you that potentially one of the reasons he did that was seeing his record in the past. Potentially, it was precisely to create an impasse. But you'd have to ask him. But I'm hoping those questions are asked because, why did he do the poison pill when he was in the Senate? Why, knowing there was a bipartisan effort, did he not move forward on it? Did he not pressure to move forward on it? Did he not pressure Nancy Pelosi on it to get it done? Why is it that, despite all his public statements, he wasn't in touch with those that were working on immigration reform? He's known who they are. Yes.
Where can you take this? I mean,
well,
where can you get past the impasse? Where can you take responsibility?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I've been taking. I take responsibility because where I'm at, where I've been. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I think. But I think. No, you don't understand. I think Congress.
Where can you use your cachet?
No, I think Congress has to take responsibility because Congress has killed it for many, many years too. So again, I'm not telling you that Obama is not the only culprit, but he has not been helpful, no matter what what he would like to state. The Republican leadership has killed it. Democratic leadership has killed it. President Obama has helped kill it. Now, going back to where we are today, when he does the executive order, and I stated this publicly, so this is not, I stated this before. I stated this publicly that if he did that, that all cane would break loose. It would just blow up the process, making it very difficult to get it done. We have to get over this DHS funding issue. And I wish I could tell you that I had a clear idea as to where the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel was. I don't see it. The only thing I see is a foggy haze at the end of the tunnel. As far as the DHS funding issue, we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to get over that. But until we take that issue off the table, there's nothing doing.
The issue at the Mall of the Americas that seemed to have been thwarted, is that giving any impetus to?
Remember, nobody wants to allow the DHS funding to to lapse. Now, and I want to make sure that I'm not misunderstood because I've said this before. And the president, by the way, misquoted me. He didn't misquote me. But what is it, PolitiFacts that hit him on it? PolitiFact.org hit him on it because I stated this, which is factual, which is obviously nobody wants us to stop. We have to get it done, and I'm hoping, and we will eventually. But the question is, we have to do it sooner the better. Now, the functions of that department will not stop. So I was quoted as saying they won't, because the one who decides what are the essential services, that's the president, that's the administration, and when we had the close down last time, the vast majority, all the folks dealing with national security issues, border security, all those, they stayed. They're essential. They were deemed to be essential. Now, what is it? 85%. So in other words, those functions will not cease. It's not what you want to happen, however. But in other words, it's not like if that happens that people will go home and we will not have border patrol. We won't have that won't happen. What is, however, unacceptable is that and if it lapses for 1 week, it's just not a good sign. It's not good. But the longer you do that, and then you've got people that eventually are going to have to get paychecks, and they're not going to be able to get their paychecks in time. And that's, frankly, these are folks that work awfully hard and deserve better. But don't think that the functions will cease. So
immediately.
Well, no, they won't cease. I mean, they won't cease. But eventually, no. Look, they won't get paid, which is what I tell you that's why they deserve better than that. But it's not like these are folks that are not going to walk away from their jobs. They just won't do that. But eventually,
the judge's ruling giving people an out,
what's that?
Hasn't the judge's ruling in Texas given people an out to say we don't
let's not litigate this over DHS.
Right, because right now it's not
important.
happening. Right now it's not happening. Look, you know, remember I voted against those amendments that got on the bill.
I know.
And I voted against the bill because I thought that this was one of the things that was going to happen. On top of a lot of issues, I didn't like the amendments for a lot of reasons. One of the factors was the fact that I saw this happening. By the way, I stated that was going to happen. That it was pretty clear that this was going to happen. And by the way, but it was pretty clear that this was going to happen when the president did the executive order. This was not rocket science. When the president did executive order, it was pretty clear that the Congress was going to have to respond. And what I feared, which is unfortunately what happened, is that the pendulum would swing because of the executive order. And the president is a lot of things, but you know what he's not? He's not dumb. And he knew that when he did the executive order, this is exactly what was going to happen. He knew that. He had to know that because I even put that in writing. I mean, you know, and I'm assuming that, you know, I mean, a lot of us knew that this was going to happen. So we have to get over this hurdle. Once we get over this hurdle, then I'm hoping that calmer heads can then get back to the issue of dealing with the overriding issue. And the good news is that we've done a lot of work, and I think we have advanced that cause quite a bit. Now, here's the thing that is, to me, rather, well, that's hard to understand. While he was negotiating, while the White House was negotiating, his speechwriter was negotiating for normalization, at the same time, there's a shipment of arms that is caught in Panama, illicit arms going to North Korea. And does that then, is that brought up in the negotiations? Is that a factor in the negotiation, normalization? No. Currently, as you know, there was a shipment of arms captured in Colombia by the Colombian military that went from Cuba to the FARC. And what's the attitude of this administration? Normalization will continue. Regardless of where one may be on the sanctions, right? Whether if you're one of those individuals that doesn't believe in sanctions at all, that we shouldn't have sanctions, but if you have sanctions against a bad player, and if you're going to get rid of them, at least get something for it. So what did the president claim that he got for it? He said that he got, well, Alan Gross, he claims was, you know, wasn't the swap of the yeah, even though the regime said, I want the 3 spies, they got the 3 spies. The regime said it's a swap. Everybody understands it's a swap. That's one of those, like, you know, same thing about, it doesn't pass a straight face test, right? It was clearly a swap. They had told Congress, they had told the family members of those who were victimized by the 3 spies, in particular the one who was there for conspiracy to commit murder, the murder of 3 Americans. They were told that there would not be swap, that those folks would not be released. They lied. The administration lied. I hate using that term, but let's get real here, okay? You know, so they lied to the families, they lied to Congress, they lied to all of us. They lied to Senator Rubio in the hearing when they said that there were no negotiations going to take place without consultation to Congress. Those negotiations were already taking place. That was an outright lie. But, so the president said they got Alan Gross, but that was for the swap, which he said he would never do. And then he said that they got 53 political prisoners released. And now we know it was that secret list that nobody could see. And then when the list was released, we then learned that a lot of those had been released before. A number of them had been released before they even started negotiation. And then a number of those have been rearrested after. Of those that the president claimed were part of the deal, right, have already been rearrested. So the regime has already broken their deal multiple times. And what's the administration's response? We're normalizing relations. By the way, did this administration take it upon themselves to try to put as the conditions returning if you look at the FBI list of the most wanted terrorists, Joanne Chessman is on that list right now, top 5. I took a picture of the screen because I thought they might change that, but they haven't changed it yet. But I know it's still up, which is, you know, surprising to me. I think it's because everybody has seen it. But so not even that. You know, there's about 80 fugitives from U.S. law, murderers, cop killers, terrorists, and so hijackers. No, that's okay. We're going to normalize, but they can continue to harbor those terrorists. They can send arms to North Korea, and the president wants to normalize. They can send weapons to the FARC a couple weeks ago, and the president wants to normalize. So again, I bring all that up because, first place, it was a horrible deal. Second place, the deal has been broken on from the regime already, and number three is that what he can do is the issue of, like, around the edges. Congress there can curtail his wings, but again, it's the biggest part about the president's action is really the concept that the United States will normalize with, and he's gonna, and mark my words, he's gonna take it off the state sponsor of terrorism. Not because they have changed, it's just because that's another concession that the president has obviously given the Castro regime. I would bet you guys anything that that's gonna happen. So I don't think anybody believes that there's gonna be a real review. I think everybody understands that that's another concession that the president has given to the Castro regime. So, you know, will the president ever then realize that even that poor deal that he's cut is being violated systematically by the Castro regime, and therefore let's reconsider? I don't think he'll do that. I'm hoping that he will. I don't think he'll do that. In the meantime, Congress can clip the wings of the president. And by the way, there's interesting issues. For example, if somebody does, let's assume that a ship now goes to the Port of Mariel, an American ship, to offload merchandise or human beings, you know. Their liability issues are huge because that's stolen property. And so those issues don't go away. So I think, again, the biggest issue here is the president wanting to throw a lifeline to the Castro regime by, again, claiming normalization and trying to figure out ways to help, you know, have hard currency go to that regime. But I think it's a little bit, there's a lot more splash than cash. But the splash is important because it's the issue of normalization, regardless of what they do. That's the key. What the president has said is to the Castro regime, regardless of what you do, sending arms to North Korea, you know, 200 arrests, was it this last week, right, in Cuba, in Havana? Sunday, 200 arrests. Green light for the Castro regime to arrest political opposition members, pro-democracy, you know, a green light to send arms to North Korea and whoever they want, a green light to send arms to the FARC. No matter what you do, Castro regime, President Obama will give you the green light and say it's okay, which is what normalization is. Things are normal. And that is the damage. That is the biggest component of what the president has done. And it is, frankly, just one of the, I think, a dark moment for U.S. foreign policy.